Hey everyone, it's Nicole. Today I'm here to film the second part of my February and March wrap-up. If you want to see the first part of this video, you need to click on the link that is going to appear on the screen right about now. To make this video short and sweet, we're just going to jump to discussing the first book. It was Matilda by Mary Shelley, and honestly it took me too much time to read because I think I started it at the end of January. And this book is 100 pages long, so it's unexcusable, but also it means that this book is slumpy. It is slumpy, at least it was for me, because initially I picked it up for the subject matter. This book is pretty scandalous, it discusses the topic of incest, and there's also the fact that Mary Shelley's father forbid her to publish this book, which I don't know about you, but intrigues me so very much. Sadly, this book was one of those books that spends so much time talking and not doing anything. And I believe if you claim that this book is a dark story about a father that falls in love with his daughter who he didn't see growing up, you should deliver it somehow. Otherwise, it just feels clickbaity. I know that I'm using modern linguistics to express my opinion about this book, but clickbaity is the only thing that I can tell you because it's the only true thing. Basically, the whole time was spent seeing these two characters walking around in nature. And even though it's true, I need to give Mary Shelley a bit of credit because she knows how to write nature well. She's very observant, which tells me a lot about her lifestyle. She clearly had a lot of walks in nature, she clearly observed nature, she clearly was invested in nature, and it shows in her writing. Still, the story is a bore, and even the beautiful descriptions of nature couldn't save it, even though I love descriptions of nature because I love nature, but like from an afar perspective. It's not like I'm a big camper or something. So these parts were good, but when you're writing a short story, you need to pack it with some kind of action, in my opinion. Otherwise, it's not going to work for a lot of people. She also clearly had a history of journaling because her writing style is reminiscent of journaling. I would have liked to read something else of hers because this was not explored in a way I would have liked it to be explored. I just in general feel slumpy when books take me this long. So I decided to pick a romance novel. Somehow on Goodreads the series piqued my attention, and I believe it's because the author was a male, and I didn't see a lot of men writing romance fiction, which was very interesting to me, and more so he writes gay romances, and his novels are pretty popular, so I decided to pick it up and see if I'm going to like it. And I have to tell you that I was obsessed. I've read 2 novels back to back in 2 or 3 days, and then I wanted to pick the third one up, but I didn't like the character that is going to be the lead in the third book. It's a companion series, but I will probably pick it up in April because I'm just in love with the way he writes his books. He has such a distinctive writing style. Anyway, I'm rambling and rambling, but I'm not telling you the title of the novels or the author. The first book that I picked up was Sutphin, Boulevard by Santino Hassell. And Santino Hassell obviously is a writer of color, and his romances are highly diverse, so it's basically a double own voices romance novel. It's written by a gay male, and it also includes Puerto Rican character, and the author is also, I believe, Puerto Rican. The first novel follows Michael and Nunzio, who are best friends since high school. Both of them are gay, but they never dated or anything, even though there's a bit of tension in their relationship, especially after Michael breaks up with his long-term boyfriend and Nunzio brings him to the club so he might find someone and blow some steam off, but instead they find a guy together and they participate in the threesome. Obviously after this their relationship starts to be a little bit more uncomfortable, and Michael starts questioning if he maybe likes Nunzio and what's happening there, if he's attracted to him, if he wants to date him and maybe lose his friend in the process, or he doesn't want to act on his feelings and just be a friend to Nunzio. It's a very interesting dynamic to read. I usually am not a big fan of friends to lovers trope, but Santino Hassell does it so well. I enjoyed how he builds his characters. They are not stereotypes. The story itself is very multidimensional. There's more conflict than a romantic conflict in the center of the plot. There's also a very interesting exploration in terms of family dynamics, in terms of addictions, in terms of working environments. I really enjoyed the relationships between Michael and Raymond, who's his younger brother, and how Michael had to get back to his family house because he had to care for his alcoholic father who was dying. In general, I think these characters were so well fleshed out that you immediately fall in love with them and you get them and you get why they do certain things. You don't even need an explanation, even though their thoughts are written so well into the story. I thought that I was in love with the first book, but I didn't know love until I read the second one. The couple in the second book just blew me away. The second book is titled Sunset Park and it follows Raymond, whom I mentioned before. He's Michael's little brother, and honestly even the writing style changed a little bit with the character. Raymond and Michael are so very different, and that's why I appreciate the series so much, because sometimes romance novels make the mistake of putting stereotypical characters into the narrative. Raymond's story, of course, I connected more with because he's younger, he's 24. And his relationships with the love interest, I'm not going to spoil you who's going to be the love interest, are so well done and so entertaining, and it's such a different dynamic. More so, this book explores bisexuality. And it's very important to talk about men's bisexuality, because usually when we talk about bisexuality, we talk about ladies. And as in the first book, the romance was mind-blowing. I was very invested in it, but also the other issues that Raymond met during his journey were very, very interesting. In terms of this whole series in general, I have to say that it's pretty explicit. There's a bunch of sex scenes in it, but written from the male point of view, they're vastly different. Santino Hassell doesn't allow himself to wander a lot when it comes to graphic scenes. It's tension, 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 and then sex happens. If you read a lot of romance novels, especially that are targeted to middle-aged women, you will definitely see the difference, because in those types of romances, two characters always wait a long time before they have sex, because it's supposed to be some kind of a culmination. But in Santino Hassell's stories that are clearly targeted to younger audiences, sex is just a part of life. Which is true. It's not this big thing that's going to change everything, and that's what I really liked about it. Okay, I think I rambled enough about these two books and about the series in general. I'm going to move forward. The last book that I read in March was Witch Wolf by Winter Pendragon. It's an urban fantasy series that has a lesbian lead, which was something I really wanted to read about, so I picked it up. I've had this book on my Kindle for a while, so I didn't remember what it's going to be about, but it turned out to be about this female private investigator who was bitten by a werewolf and turned into a werewolf, which made her leave the police force and take another job. The werewolves and vampires in this story are pretty out in the public and everyone knows that they exist. So the story starts where the protagonist named Cassandra is called to the crime scene by her ex-colleagues because she has some kind of intuitive power and she might say something about the crime scene. Honestly, at first I was very gripped by the story, but it turned to be a very generic urban fantasy, not the best of the kind. The only highlight for me was the fact that the protagonist is a lesbian, and it's not something I've read before in urban fantasy. But that's pretty much it. In general, I thought Cassandra was too many things. She was too talented, too Mary Sue-ish, especially because she was not only a werewolf, but she was also some sort of a Wiccan, so she had basically a goddess that watched over her. She also had these intuitive powers and basically was a bit of a witch, but also the story progressed and she turned to have other things as well, which is pretty boring in my opinion. Also, the romantic relationship was just uninspiring and it was very cliche. It's something that I expected to see and it just moved so fast. It was basically forced on the characters. I didn't appreciate the whole thing and I believe I'm not going to continue with the series. That's all the things that I wanted to mention in this video. Tell me if you read any of those books or what books are you reading right now. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you soon in my next video. Bye!